A black boy helped a millionaire change a flat tire asking for nothing in return. The next day, a black SUV appeared in front of his house, and what happened next moved the entire neighborhood. The sun blazed down mercilessly on the winding, empty road, dust swirling as Alex Thompson's luxury SUV rolled to a reluctant halt. His jaw clenched in frustration, fingers tapping against the steering wheel as he muttered, "Of course, perfect timing." Just a mile away from his meeting, an urgent flat tire had chosen this exact moment to ruin his day. He sighed and adjusted his designer suit jacket, stepping out into the thick,
oppressive heat.
Alex knelt beside the rear tire, already knowing the answer. Shredded rubber clung pitifully to the wheel, the kind of damage that demanded a replacement. He took out his phone, but a quick glance confirmed the worst: no signal. With a sigh of resignation, he slipped the phone back into his pocket, the unease settling in. In his world, problems were solved with quick calls and well-paid solutions, and rarely did he find himself in situations he couldn't control. He looked down the endless stretch of road, the heat rising in waves. Just as he was preparing to tackle the situation himself, he noticed a figure approaching from the distance. He squinted, making out a young boy walking toward him, a kid of about 14, dressed in a faded t-shirt and worn sneakers. He looked out of place here, in the middle of nowhere, but his pace was steady, purposeful. The boy stopped a few paces away and looked at Alex with a curious grin. "Flat tire."
"Huh,
"Mister?"
His voice was warm,
the kind of tone that suggested he was genuinely interested in helping. Caught off guard, Alex could only nod, unsure of what to make of this unexpected helper.
"Yeah,
"It's flat, really flat. I'm not exactly sure where to start with it." The boy glanced at the mangled rubber, then back at Alex. "I could help you with that," he offered, his expression calm and assured. "My dad taught me how to change a tire a while back." Without waiting for a response, he knelt down beside the SUV, his movements practiced and sure. "You really know how to do this?" Alex asked, a hint of disbelief in his voice as he watched the boy. The boy flashed him a quick smile. "It's just a tire, mister. No big deal." He reached around to the back of the SUV, waiting for Alex to open the hatch, and quickly located the spare tire and tools. Alex, still stunned, could only step back and watch as the boy worked, his hands moving confidently, loosening the lug nuts with a precision that left Alex feeling strangely inadequate. "This isn't your first time, is it?" Alex muttered, half to himself, as he watched the boy tighten the last bolt. The boy shrugged, wiping the sweat from his forehead. "Not my first."
"No."
"Sometimes you just gotta know where to look and how to get your hands dirty." He looked up, eyes bright and clear, and Alex felt a pang of something he couldn't quite name. A few moments later, the boy finished attaching the spare tire and stood up, dusting his hands on his jeans. "All done," he announced with a thumbs up. Alex blinked, his initial shock giving way to gratitude. Thank you." He fumbled for his wallet, pulling out a crisp $50 bill and holding it out to the boy. "For your trouble. It's the least I can do." The boy stepped back, shaking his head. "No thanks, mister. I didn't help you for money."
Surprised,
Alex extended his hand again, the bill still in his grip. "Are you sure? It's just a thank you." But the boy only gave him a quick wave and a grin. "It's all right. You seemed like you could use some help. That's all." He turned and started walking back down the road, tossing a casual "good luck, mister" over his shoulder. For a moment, Alex stood frozen, the bill still clutched in his hand, feeling strangely unsettled. He wasn't used to this, a simple favor, done without expectation, without anything in return. As he watched the boy's form grow smaller in the distance, a strange feeling lodged itself in his chest.
he wanted to say something,
To call the boy back, but the words caught in his throat. Climbing back into his SUV, Alex slid the money back into his wallet, feeling a gnawing sense of something left unfinished. The boy's smile, the way he had casually refused the money, the effortless kindness, it lingered with him, trailing in his thoughts like a whisper. He drove on, his mind unusually quiet, replaying the brief encounter over and over. As he turned back onto the main road, he glanced once more in the rearview mirror, searching for the boy one last time. But he was gone, disappearing into the summer heat, leaving Alex with nothing but the faint, inexplicable urge to go back. That night, Alex couldn't shake the boy's face from his mind. The easy smile, the way he'd waved off the money, the calm confidence as he'd changed the tire as if he'd done it 100 times before. Settling into his sleek, modern home, Alex should have been able to leave the encounter behind. Instead, it lingered, like an itch he couldn't quite scratch. He sat at his dining room table, barely tasting his meal, the hum of his wife Rachel's voice in the background as she talked about her day. And they're projecting a 15% increase by next quarter, she said. Noticing his silence, she raised an eyebrow. Alex? Earth to Alex.
He blinked.
Finally looking up. Oh, sorry. I'm just distracted. She set her fork down, studying him. All right. What's going on? You've been like this since you got home. She leaned forward, the look in her eyes warm but curious. What's on your mind? It's nothing. Just something strange that happened on the road today, he said, rubbing his temples. I had a flat tire out in the middle of nowhere. And this kid, he just appeared out of nowhere and fixed it. He didn't ask for anything in return. I tried to give him money, but he refused, just helped me and left. Rachel's lips curved into a small smile. Sounds like he's just a kind kid. Not everyone wants something in return. You know. But that's just it, Alex replied, frowning. It doesn't make sense. Everyone always wants something. It's the way things work. Isn't it? Rachel shook her head, laughing softly. Maybe that's the way things work in your world, Alex. But not everyone sees life that way. She leaned back, looking thoughtful. He must have seen you needed help and thought nothing of it. There are people like that. You know. Alex absorbed her words, but they didn't settle easily. His world was one of deals, favors, and returns, one where nothing came for free. Not even a friendly smile. Yet that boy had shrugged off his money, as if it were a trifle, like it didn't matter at all. Maybe he saw something in you that made him want to help, Rachel suggested, her voice soft. Maybe he could tell you really needed it. Alex scoffed, though Rachel's words cut deeper than he wanted to admit. What could he possibly have seen in me? He shrugged, trying to sound dismissive, but the thought nagged at him. He'd looked helpless there on the side of the road, struggling with something as simple as a flat tire. The kid hadn't hesitated, hadn't even looked at him with pity, just a calm, knowing smile and a willingness to help. As he finished his meal, Alex felt a strange pull, a compulsion he couldn't quite explain. It wasn't just about paying the boy back anymore. It was something else, a curiosity, or maybe even a need to understand what kind of person would help a stranger with no strings attached. That night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling. His life was filled with people who expected something in return for every action, every favor. But that kid had been different, selfless, unfazed,
And,
in his own quiet way, confident. It was unsettling, in a way he couldn't quite explain. The next morning, he woke with a decision he hadn't anticipated. He had to find the boy. He didn't know what he'd say or what he even wanted,
but he knew he had to try.
The following morning, Alex woke early, an unusual restlessness driving him out of bed. He dressed quickly, choosing a casual shirt and jeans, something he hadn't worn in years. Rachel looked up from her coffee, eyebrows raised in surprise as he rushed past the kitchen. Alex, are you going somewhere? She asked, tilting her head in curiosity. Back to the road where I met the boy, he said, slipping his keys from the counter. I need to find him. Rachel's surprise turned to a soft smile, a knowing look settling in her eyes. All right. Good luck, she replied, her tone encouraging. I hope you find what you're looking for. Alex gave her a quick nod, heading out the door with a determination that surprised even himself. As he drove through the countryside, he kept replaying the encounter in his mind, The boy's calm manner, his easy refusal of money, and the way he'd walked away without looking back. Alex was a man of control, a man who made things happen. But this felt different, like something he couldn't quite grasp. It didn't take long to reach the stretch of road where he'd been stranded. The fields looked the same, stretching wide and open under the morning sun. But this time he was searching for something more. Slowing down, he scanned the distance and saw a small, worn house just off the road. He parked on the gravel shoulder and stepped out, heart pounding as he approached the house. It looked humble, with patches of paint peeling off the wood siding and a few rusty toys scattered in the front yard. Alex felt a surge of nervousness he hadn't experienced in years. What was he even doing here? Taking a deep breath, he raised his hand and knocked on the door. A few moments passed, and then the door creaked open. A woman stood there, her eyes widening in mild surprise as she took in Alex's presence. She looked to be in her early 40s, with a gentle face framed by dark curls. Dressed simply, but with a warmth in her expression that matched the boy's. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice cautious but polite. Alex cleared his throat, feeling strangely out of place.
Yes.
I'm looking for a boy. He helped me yesterday with a flat tire out on the road. I just wanted to thank him properly." The woman's face softened, and a hint of a smile appeared.
Ah.
"That would be my son, Lucas," she said.
Nodding.
She turned and called over her shoulder. "Lucas, someone's here to see you." Alex heard the scuff of footsteps, and then the boy appeared in the doorway, his eyes widening in recognition.
Oh, hey.
"Mister," he said, breaking into a grin that was as natural as sunlight. Alex felt a rush of relief, his own lips curving into a smile. "Lucas, I couldn't stop thinking about what you did yesterday. I wanted to find you, to properly thank you. It was more than I expected." Lucas shrugged, looking a bit embarrassed. "It was nothing, really. Just wanted to help." Alex glanced around, taking in the modest home, the worn steps, the little flower pots scattered along the porch. "It may have been nothing to you, but it meant a lot to me, and I'd like to do something for you in return." Lucas shook his head, looking down at his shoes. "I told you, mister, I don't need anything. It was just a flat tire." Alex opened his mouth to argue, but then caught the woman's eye, Lucas's mother. Her expression was thoughtful, measuring. She seemed to see through his intentions, and after a moment, she offered a gentle smile. "Would you like to come in? We were just about to have breakfast." For a moment, Alex felt out of his element, unused to such warmth. But he nodded, following them inside. The small kitchen was tidy and cozy, filled with the scent of fresh coffee and toast. Lucas's mother gestured for him to sit, setting a simple plate of eggs and toast in front of him. "It's not much, but you're welcome to it," she said kindly, her eyes warm. Alex looked down at the plate, feeling an odd lump in his throat. "Thank you," he murmured, feeling a strange gratitude for something as simple as a home-cooked meal. As they ate, he listened to Lucas talk about his day, his school, and his plans for the summer. The boy's voice was animated, full of dreams and the easy confidence of youth. Alex found himself leaning in, captivated by Lucas's stories, feeling a connection he couldn't quite explain. Lucas's mother watched them both, a knowing smile on her face. "We don't have much," she said softly, "but we've always been taught to help others when we can. It's something my mom taught me, and I try to pass it down to Lucas." Alex nodded, her words resonating deeply. But he couldn't shake the feeling that he wanted to give back somehow. This family, with their modest home and kind smiles, had shown him a warmth he hadn't felt in years. Maybe there is something I can do," he said, glancing at Lucas and then his mother. "I'd like to help fix up the house a bit. It's not much, but I have some contacts, people who can help with repairs. Just something to make things a little more comfortable." Lucas looked at his mother, who glanced down at her plate, her fingers tracing the edge. She looked up, meeting Alex's gaze with a soft but steady nod. We've always managed on our own, she said gently. But I can see this means something to you. And yes, it would mean something to us, too. A warmth spread through Alex's chest. Something he hadn't felt in years, a sense of purpose, of doing something right, something that actually mattered. He looked back at Lucas, who was beaming. All right, Alex said, a slight smile tugging at his lips. We'll get started as soon as possible. For the first time in a long time, Alex felt the weight of his own walls beginning to lift. Alex returned the next day, arriving early in the morning with a team of workers, a toolbox in hand, and an unfamiliar excitement stirring in his chest. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft glow over Lucas's house. And as he stepped out of his SUV, he felt an unusual lightness, a sense of purpose that was more satisfying than any corporate deal. Lucas bounded out of the house, a wide grin splitting his face.
Hey,
Mr. Alex, you're really here. Of course I am, Alex replied, ruffling the boy's hair. Told you I'd come back. Ready to get to work? Lucas nodded enthusiastically. Definitely. I've never seen the house look this busy. The house was alive with activity as Alex's team unloaded tools, set up ladders, and began assessing the repairs.
Greg.
The head contractor walked over, clipboard in hand.
All right, boss.
Roof repairs, kitchen plumbing, and floor work, those are our top priorities. Should be able to get started right away. Great, Alex said, glancing at Lucas, who was watching everything with wide-eyed wonder. Let's get this place in shape. Throughout the morning, Alex found himself unexpectedly hands-on. He carried tools, held ladders, and even helped Greg patch up a section of the roof. Every so often, he'd glance over to see Lucas working alongside the crew, hauling wood or sweeping up sawdust, his small frame moving with energy and purpose. Alex couldn't help but smile. Lucas was everywhere, pitching in with a determination that left the workers chuckling. As they took a break, Alex and Lucas sat on the porch, their backs against the freshly painted railing. Maria, Lucas's mother, came out with a pitcher of lemonade and handed them each a glass, a warm smile lighting her face. Never thought I'd see you get your hands dirty, Alex, she teased, her eyes sparkling. He laughed, wiping the sweat from his brow. Neither did I, to be honest. He took a sip of lemonade, savoring the tart sweetness. But it feels good. A different kind of work. Lucas leaned over, curiosity written on his face.
So,
Mr. Alex, what's it like? You know, being successful and all that. Alex paused, caught off guard by the question. He'd spent so long striving for success that he hadn't really stopped to think about what it actually meant.
well,
It's busy, he began slowly. A lot of meetings, a lot of decisions. Most people think it's all fancy cars and big houses, but it can get pretty lonely. Lucas looked up at him, his gaze thoughtful. Lonely? But you have everything, right? Alex hesitated, staring into his glass of lemonade, swirling it as he thought.
yeah,
I do, but sometimes I wonder if I've been focused on the wrong things. Money, success, they don't feel as important as they used to. Maria, who had been listening quietly, gave Alex a knowing smile. Sometimes we all need a reminder of what really matters, she said gently. Family,
community.
helping each other out. The simplicity of her words struck Alex, cutting through layers of ambition and detachment that had built up over the years. He nodded, his voice soft. You're right. I think I lost sight of that somewhere along the way. Lucas grinned, his youthful wisdom shining through.
Well,
Now you're helping us. So maybe you're getting it back. Alex chuckled, reaching over to give Lucas a friendly nudge. Maybe I am, kid. The work continued for the rest of the day, and Alex found himself more invested than he'd ever been in a project. He and Lucas worked side by side, fixing floorboards, painting walls, and carrying supplies. Lucas asked endless questions about his job, his travels, and the people he'd met. And for the first time, Alex opened up, sharing stories he hadn't thought about in years. By the afternoon, Alex had almost forgotten he was a CEO, accustomed to corner offices and boardrooms. He felt like someone new, or perhaps like someone he hadn't been in a long time. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the house, Lucas and Alex stood side by side, surveying the progress. "You're really good at this, Mr. Alex," Lucas said, admiration in his voice. "You don't seem like a fancy businessman anymore." Alex laughed, ruffling Lucas's hair again. "Is that so?
Well,
Maybe that's a good thing." He looked around, a sense of contentment filling him. "Today's been one of the best days I've had in a long time." Maria joined them on the porch, watching the workers pack up their tools, her face glowing with gratitude. "Thank you, Alex. This house is feeling more like home already. And that's because of you." He shook his head, humbled. "No, thank you, Maria, for letting me be a part of this, of your family." He looked at Lucas, feeling a warmth he hadn't expected. "And you, Lucas, you've taught me more than you know." Lucas beamed, his expression earnest. "Maybe helping people just feels good, Mr. Alex. That's all it is." As they stood there together, Alex felt something shift within him, a reminder of the life he'd forgotten, of kindness and connection and belonging. He realized, with a clarity he hadn't felt in years, that this wasn't just about fixing a house. It was about rebuilding something within himself.
2.
And for the first time in as long as he could remember, he felt that he was exactly where he needed to be. The following day, Alex returned with even more resolve. There was no hesitation in his step, no doubt in his mind. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. This time, it wasn't just about patching up walls or fixing broken pipes. He wanted to give Lucas and Maria something lasting, something they would never have to worry about again. As he pulled up to the now familiar house, Lucas came running out to greet him, his face lit up with excitement. "You're back, Mr. Alex. I was hoping you'd come again today." Alex smiled, giving him a quick pat on the shoulder. "Of course, Lucas. Told you I'd be here till the end." He glanced up at the roof, already patched and sturdy, and felt a flicker of satisfaction. "But I have a bigger idea. Something more than just repairs." Lucas's mother, Maria, stepped onto the porch, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "More than the repairs?" she asked, looking at Alex with a mixture of curiosity and surprise. Alex nodded, taking a deep breath.
Yes.
"You've welcomed me in like family, and I want to do something in return that shows how much that means to me." He paused, gathering his thoughts, choosing his words carefully. "I was thinking maybe I could help renovate the entire house. Fix it up properly. A new kitchen, sturdy floors, fresh paint, maybe even a little room for Lucas." Maria's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes widening.
Alex.
I don't know what to say. That's more than we could ever ask for." Lucas's eyes lit up, though he looked up at his mom cautiously. "Really, Mr. Alex? A real room? With a desk and everything?" Alex chuckled,
Nodding. Yes.
"Lucas, a room just for you. Whatever you want." Maria hesitated, glancing down at her son, then back at Alex. Her expression was soft, touched but cautious. "We've always managed on our own,
Alex.
I wouldn't want you to think we expect anything." "I know, Maria," Alex said gently, his voice filled with sincerity. "This isn't about charity or obligation. You help me in a way you probably don't realize. And I want to give something back. I want this to be a place where you and Lucas feel safe, comfortable, and proud." For a long moment, Maria looked at him, as if searching his eyes for any sign of insincerity. But all she saw was genuine kindness. She finally gave a small nod, her eyes shining with emotion. "All right, Alex. We'd be grateful for the help. And I thank you, truly." With the plan set in motion, Alex felt a surge of excitement he hadn't experienced in years. He wasted no time, pulling out his phone and contacting contractors, suppliers, and even interior designers he knew who could help bring the house to life. Within days, a team of workers was there, inspecting the foundation, measuring the kitchen, assessing every nook and cranny. The air buzzed with the energy of renewal, and it was contagious. Lucas shadowed Alex throughout the entire process, his enthusiasm boundless. "Mr. Alex, do you think I could help with the painting? Maybe pick the color for my room?" he asked one day, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Absolutely," Alex replied with a smile. "I think you should be in charge of designing your room however you like. What color do you have in mind?" Lucas thought for a moment, tapping his chin. "Maybe blue."
Like the sky. And a desk.
"So I can study there." He grinned, adding, "Maybe even a shelf for books." "Blue it is." Alex agreed, making a mental note. He ruffled Lucas's hair, feeling a strange yet comforting sense of pride. Watching Lucas's dreams unfold, he realized just how much he'd come to care for this boy and his mother. How much he wanted them to have a home that reflected the warmth and kindness they shared so freely. Days passed in a whirlwind of work and progress. Walls were reinforced, plumbing was upgraded, and fresh paint was rolled across every room. Alex was there every day, watching the transformation, rolling up his sleeves to help wherever he could. He spent hours with Lucas, showing him how to paint, teaching him how to use simple tools, and laughing together at their shared mistakes. One afternoon, as they were setting up the new flooring in the living room, Alex noticed Maria standing at the doorway, watching them. Her eyes were soft, filled with gratitude, and something deeper, admiration.
Perhaps.
"You've done so much for us," she said quietly, her voice barely audible over the sounds of hammering. "I don't think we can ever thank you enough." Alex set down his tools and walked over, his expression earnest. "Maria, you don't have to thank me. If anything, I should be thanking you. You and Lucas have reminded me of what it means to be part of something real." He gestured around the room, his eyes taking in the fresh walls and sturdy new floors. "This isn't just a house. It's a home. And that's because of you." Maria's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back, smiling. "I never thought we'd see a day like this. You've given us so much more than a new home."
Alex.
"You've given us hope." Alex swallowed, feeling a lump rise in his throat. He hadn't anticipated how deeply this experience would touch him, how much he would feel, or how much he would care. "I guess we've given each other hope," he replied softly. By the time the renovations were nearly complete, the house looked entirely new. The walls gleamed, the roof was secure, and Lucas's room, painted a vibrant sky blue with a small wooden desk and a bookshelf, was everything he had hoped for. Alex watched as Lucas ran his fingers along the bookshelf, his eyes shining with wonder. "Is it really mine?" Lucas whispered, looking up at Alex. Alex crouched beside him, a warm smile on his face.
Yes.
"Lucas, it's all yours. You deserve this and so much more." Lucas hugged him suddenly, catching him off guard. Alex felt his heart swell, and he wrapped his arms around the boy, feeling a bond stronger than any he'd known before. As they stood there in that quiet moment, surrounded by the scent of fresh paint and polished wood, Alex realized that he had found something more valuable than any wealth or status he had ever achieved. He had found a family, a true, lasting connection. And as he looked into Lucas's grateful eyes, he knew that his life would never be the same. The renovations were almost complete, but the work felt far from over for Alex. Every morning, he arrived early, taking in the house's transformation. A place once worn and weathered now stood vibrant and alive, with fresh paint and sturdy walls. The house seemed to reflect the new warmth and connection he'd found with Lucas and Maria.
Today.
As the final touches were being applied, Alex noticed Lucas waiting for him on the front steps, clutching a paintbrush. The boy's face lit up when he saw him. "Mr. Alex, look." I helped paint the fence. Alex smiled, admiring the fresh coat of blue Lucas had chosen. Looks perfect. Lucas, you're a natural at this. Lucas beamed, proudly holding out the brush. Wanna join? I could use some help finishing up. Without hesitation, Alex picked up a second brush, kneeling beside Lucas to continue the job. They worked in companionable silence, the morning sun casting warm rays over the yard. As they painted, Lucas broke the silence. You know, Mr. Alex, it's kind of funny,
Lucas said.
glancing at him. When I first saw you with that flat tire, I thought you might just drive off once I fixed it. Alex paused, looking at Lucas thoughtfully. Really? Why'd you think that? Lucas shrugged, dipping his brush back into the paint. People don't usually stick around.
Most of the time.
They just, well, they don't really see us. The words hit Alex harder than he'd expected. He realized that once, he might have been exactly that person, driven, self-focused, seeing people only as they related to his own life and needs. But Lucas and Maria had opened his eyes to a different way of being, a reminder of the values he'd somehow lost along the way. Well, Alex said slowly, choosing his words carefully, I think I was the one who needed to see you. Lucas, you and your mom, you've shown me something I didn't know I was missing. Lucas smiled, his eyes bright. I'm glad you did. And thanks for making my room so awesome, he added, glancing shyly at his shoes. Your room is only the beginning, Alex said, his voice filled with genuine warmth. You deserve a place that's comfortable,
Safe.
and just yours. And if you ever want to change the color or add anything, you let me know. Lucas laughed, a sound that filled the yard with its carefree joy. Maybe one day, I'll paint it a new color myself. But for now, I like it just how it is. After they finished the fence, Alex and Lucas walked into the house, where Maria was organizing the kitchen. She looked up, smiling at them as they stepped inside. You two look like you've been working hard, she said, eyeing the paint smudges on Alex's shirt. We finished the fence, Lucas announced proudly, holding his brush high. Maria chuckled, wiping her hands on a towel.
Well,
It looks beautiful. I think you two make a pretty good team. As they sat down for lunch, Alex felt something he hadn't felt in years, a true sense of belonging. They laughed over sandwiches, sharing stories and dreams. Lucas talked about his favorite books, and Maria shared memories of her childhood, filling the air with warmth and laughter. The house, with its new walls and floors, felt alive, brimming with a sense of family and love that made Alex's heart swell. At one point, Maria turned to him, her expression thoughtful.
Alex.
I don't think you know how much you've done for us. You've given us more than just a home. Alex's gaze softened. And you've given me something too. Maria, it's hard to explain, but being here, doing this, it's made me feel more alive than anything else in a long time. Lucas looked up, his gaze earnest.
Well,
Mr. Alex, if you ever need anything, you just let us know. You're part of the family now. Those words struck a chord deep within Alex. He'd spent so many years striving for success, thinking it would bring him fulfillment. But here, in this modest home, with these two people, he felt a warmth and joy that no amount of money or power had ever given him. He realized that he was no longer just helping them, they were helping him too, more than they knew. After lunch, Alex joined the contractors to review the final repairs. But his mind kept drifting back to Lucas's words, "You're part of the family now." He hadn't known it was possible to feel this connected, to feel like he truly belonged somewhere. Later that day, as they were wrapping up, Lucas ran up to Alex, a spark of excitement in his eyes. "Mr. Alex, can I show you something?" Curious, Alex followed him to the backyard. Lucas pointed at a tree, an old oak with branches reaching high and wide. "I've always wanted a swing," he said, glancing at Alex. "Do you think we could put one up?" A grin spread across Alex's face. "I think that's a great idea. Why don't we make it our next project?" Lucas's face lit up, and without another word, he threw his arms around Alex in a sudden, unexpected hug. Alex froze, momentarily surprised, before hugging him back, feeling a sense of pride and affection he hadn't experienced in years. As he looked down at Lucas, he knew that this connection, this bond, was something he would cherish forever. They worked together to find a sturdy branch, and by the time the sun was setting, they had a simple swing hanging from the tree, its rope creaking slightly as it swayed in the breeze. Lucas climbed onto it with a triumphant smile, his laughter echoing through the yard as Alex pushed him higher and higher. Watching Lucas's pure joy, Alex realized that he'd found something in this place that he hadn't known he was looking for, something real, something lasting. It wasn't about charity or obligation anymore. It was about family, about love, about being a part of something meaningful. As the evening wore on and the workers packed up their tools, Alex lingered, sitting on the porch steps as he watched Lucas on the swing, his laughter filling the air. Maria joined him, a soft smile on her face. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, her voice filled with quiet emotion. "You've given us so much more than just a house. You've given us a new start, a sense of hope." Alex looked at her, feeling the weight of her words. "Thank you for letting me be a part of it. You and Lucas have given me a new start too." They sat there in comfortable silence, watching as Lucas swung back and forth, the golden light of dusk casting a warm glow over the yard. Alex felt an overwhelming peace, a quiet joy that had nothing to do with success or achievement. It was simply about being here, sharing this moment with people who had become a part of his heart. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex knew that this was just the beginning of something beautiful, a friendship, a family, a newfound purpose. And for the first time, he felt he was exactly where he was meant to be. The house was nearly finished. Over the past few weeks, walls had been repainted, windows repaired, floors replaced, and the roof strengthened. The once worn-down structure now stood proud, its transformation a testament to weeks of hard work and love. But Alex knew there was still one more thing he wanted to do, something that would secure a future for Lucas in ways far beyond a simple renovation. It was early morning when he pulled up to the house, an envelope tucked carefully in his pocket.
Today.
He wasn't bringing contractors or tools.
Today.
He had something different, a gift, one he hoped would mean as much to Lucas and Maria as their kindness had meant to him. As he stepped out of his SUV, he saw Lucas sprinting across the yard to greet him, a huge grin on his face. "Mr. Alex, wait till you see the new bookshelves in my room. They finished them yesterday, and I already started putting my stuff on them. Can't wait to see it." "Lucas," Alex said, smiling as he ruffled the boy's hair. "But first, there's something I want to talk to you and your mom about." Lucas tilted his head curiously but nodded, leading Alex into the house. The familiar scent of coffee and toast filled the air as they entered the kitchen, where Maria was setting the table. She looked up, her expression brightening as she saw Alex. "Good morning,
Alex.
You're just in time for breakfast." He felt a warmth in his chest, a sensation he'd come to treasure in this cozy home. He sat down with them, sharing a simple breakfast filled with laughter and light conversation, a far cry from the silent, lonely mornings he often spent in his own home. After they'd finished eating, he cleared his throat, feeling the weight of what he was about to say. "There's something I want to give you both," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out the envelope and slid it across the table to Maria. Maria looked at it, surprise flickering across her face. She opened it slowly, her eyes widening as she scanned the contents. "Alex, what is this?" "It's a trust fund," Alex said softly, meeting her gaze. "For Lucas, so he can go to college one day, or pursue whatever dreams he has. I wanted to make sure he has every opportunity to do whatever he sets his heart on." The room fell silent. Maria's eyes filled with tears, and she pressed a hand to her mouth, clearly overwhelmed.
Alex. I don't even know what to say.
This is beyond anything we could have imagined. Lucas looked at the papers, his eyes wide with awe. So, this is for me? Really?
Yes.
Lucas, Alex said, his voice gentle. It's all for you. You're a bright kid with so much potential. And I want to make sure you have the chance to follow your dreams, whatever they may be. Lucas stared at him for a moment, then threw his arms around Alex in a tight hug, his small frame trembling slightly. Thank you, Mr. Alex. Thank you so much, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Alex hugged him back, feeling a rush of warmth and pride unlike anything he'd ever known. He looked over at Maria, who was wiping a tear from her cheek, her face a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. Alex, she began, her voice shaking slightly. You've already done so much. This house, your friendship, everything. I don't know how we could ever thank you for this. Alex shook his head, smiling gently. You don't need to thank me, Maria. If anything, I should be thanking you. Being here with you and Lucas, it's changed my life. You reminded me of what it means to care for others, to do something meaningful. She reached across the table, squeezing his hand. You're a part of this family now, Alex. Always. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the gravity of the moment settling over them. Lucas, still clutching the papers, looked up at Alex with a newfound determination in his eyes. I won't let you down, Mr. Alex. I promise. Alex chuckled, resting a hand on Lucas's shoulder. I know you won't. I have no doubt you're going to do great things. After breakfast, they went to see the nearly completed renovations. The house was now a vibrant, welcoming place, filled with light and warmth. Lucas showed off his new room, his pride evident as he pointed out his bookshelves,
Desk.
and the little details he'd chosen himself. As they stood in the middle of Lucas's room, Maria glanced around, a soft smile playing on her lips. It's perfect, Alex. You've given us more than a home. You've given us a new beginning. It's what you both deserve. Alex replied quietly, taking in the joyful, content expressions on their faces. I wanted to give you more than just a house. I wanted to give you a chance for the future. They spent the rest of the day together, basking in the warmth of the home they'd built together, Alex, Lucas, and Maria, bound not by blood, but by a connection that ran just as deep. They shared stories, laughter, and quiet moments, each one more precious than the last. As evening settled over the house, Alex found himself standing on the porch with Maria, watching the sunset. The sky was painted in soft hues of pink and orange, casting a gentle glow over the yard. You know, Alex, Maria said, her voice filled with quiet gratitude. We've always managed, Lucas and I. We've never needed much, and we never expected anything from anyone. But you've given us something we never thought we'd have a real chance. Alex looked at her, his expression soft. I needed this as much as you did, Maria. This house, this family, it's given me a purpose I didn't know I was missing. She smiled, reaching out to squeeze his hand. You've become more than a friend to us, Alex. Your family. The words resonated in his heart, filling a void he hadn't known was there. As he stood on that porch, surrounded by the warmth of Maria's kindness and Lucas's innocent joy, Alex knew he had finally found a place where he truly belonged. It wasn't in boardrooms or lavish events, but here, in this modest home, with these remarkable people who had opened their hearts to him. As they watched the last rays of the sun dip below the horizon, Alex felt a sense of peace, a quiet joy that was entirely new. It wasn't about giving or receiving, it was about connection, love, and a shared journey towards something meaningful. And as the stars began to twinkle in the evening sky, Alex knew that this was only the beginning. The final day of renovations arrived, and the house stood transformed, a true home, radiating warmth and care. The team had gathered one last time to celebrate, sharing food, laughter, and memories that would linger far beyond this day. Alex couldn't help but feel a surge of pride as he watched Lucas and Maria move through the rooms with awe, their faces reflecting the happiness he had hoped to give them. The neighbors, drawn by the changes to the house, stopped by with homemade dishes and congratulations, filling the yard with laughter and chatter. They marveled at the fresh paint, the new windows, the sturdy roof, and Lucas's beautiful blue room. Everyone wanted to know more about the man who had brought such kindness to this family. But Alex only waved off their praise, insisting that Lucas and Maria had given him far more than he had ever given them. As evening approached, Alex found himself on the porch, the noise of celebration softening as he took a quiet moment to himself. He looked out over the yard, at the swing they'd put up on the old oak tree, and smiled at the memories of Lucas's laughter as he soared back and forth, his face beaming with pure joy. Just then, he heard footsteps behind him.
Turning,
He saw Maria, her expression calm and filled with gratitude. She stepped beside him, leaning against the porch railing. "You've done so much for us, Alex," she said softly, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't think words can ever express what this means to us." Alex shook his head, his gaze focused on the swing swaying gently in the breeze. "Maria, you and Lucas changed my life. Before I met you, I was so focused on my career, my success.
but now,
I see that none of it mattered as much as this." He gestured toward the house. "This place, this feeling, it's something I didn't even know I needed." Maria smiled, her eyes misting. "I think that sometimes life brings us exactly what we need, even if it's not what we expected." They stood in comfortable silence, watching as Lucas chased a friend around the yard, his laughter filling the air. Alex felt a sense of peace settle over him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years, perhaps ever. For once, he wasn't thinking about deadlines or investments. He was here, fully present, savoring each moment. After a while, Lucas ran over, his face flushed and eyes bright. "Mr. Alex, come see my room one more time," he exclaimed, grabbing Alex's hand and pulling him inside. Alex chuckled, letting himself be led through the familiar rooms to Lucas's sky-blue sanctuary. The walls were lined with bookshelves filled with the few cherished items Lucas had collected, and his desk was neatly arranged with school supplies. A small poster of the night sky hung above his bed, and he looked at it with a sense of pride that made Alex's heart swell. "It's perfect, Lucas," Alex said, patting his shoulder. "It's all yours, just the way you wanted." Lucas nodded, a serious expression crossing his young face. "Mr. Alex, I want you to know, I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to work hard in school and maybe even go to college.
like you said,
I want to help people one day, like you helped us." Alex knelt down, meeting Lucas's gaze. "Lucas, I have no doubt you're going to do amazing things, and I'll be here to support you every step of the way." A wide smile broke across Lucas's face, and he threw his arms around Alex in a tight hug. Alex hugged him back, feeling the weight of this bond, this promise. It was a commitment to Lucas, to Maria, and to himself, a promise to be a part of their lives and to continue down this new path he discovered. As the evening wore on and guests began to leave, Alex lingered on the porch with Maria and Lucas, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky. The neighborhood had quieted down, leaving just the three of them in a comfortable silence that felt as natural as breathing. Maria glanced at Alex, a thoughtful smile on her lips.
"So,
"What's next for you, Alex, now that you've accomplished all of this?" He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her questions settle within him. "I'm not sure," he admitted, a gentle smile touching his face. "But I do know that I don't want to go back to the way things were. Maybe I'll keep looking for ways to make a difference, ways to give back. Being here, it's opened my eyes to something bigger than just myself." Lucas piped up, his voice eager. "You could visit us every weekend. You know, check on the house and maybe bring more books. Alex chuckled, reaching over to tousle Lucas's hair. I'd like that. And maybe we can even build a tree house next summer. Something big and sturdy. So you can have your own little fort out here. Lucas's eyes widened in excitement, nodding enthusiastically.
Yes.
That would be amazing. Maria laughed softly, her eyes filled with warmth. We'll hold you to that promise, Alex. As the night deepened, Alex knew he'd found something more valuable than any deal he'd closed, any project he'd overseen. He'd found a purpose rooted in connection, in family, in love. He didn't need a grand plan for the future. All he needed was this, a commitment to live with purpose, with kindness, and with the knowledge that he was no longer alone. They stayed on the porch long after the stars had settled into the sky, talking about everything and nothing, sharing dreams and memories. Alex felt lighter than he had in years, the weight of his old life fading as he embraced the new one unfolding before him. When he finally rose to leave, Maria and Lucas stood by the door, waving him off with smiles that spoke volumes. He knew he'd return often, not out of obligation, but because this was home now, a place he could always come back to. As he drove down the familiar road, the memory of the boy he'd once met on the side of the road filled his mind. What had started as a simple flat tire had turned into something far greater. It had led him here,
To this family.
to this home, to this life he hadn't known he was missing. And as the stars guided his way, Alex knew his journey was just beginning. He was no longer alone, no longer lost. He was finally on a path that mattered, one built on connection,
Purpose.
and the love he'd found in the most unexpected of places.